Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Between Beth and Rip's spinoff and CBS Kayce series, Yellowstone Season 6 is basically happening. Warning: this article contains spoilers for Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 14, Life is a Promise. The Yellowstone franchise couldn't continue with a proper Season 6 after Kevin Costner's exit. But between Beth, Kelly Riley, and Rip's Cole Hauser, Yellowstone spinoff, and Kayce Dutton's Luke Grimes' newly announced CBS series, the story will continue. Costner was the soul of the landmark show as John Dutton IV, the owner of the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch. Kevin Costner didn't return to the series for Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2 after he and its creators failed to reach an agreement, and the closing chapter was riddled with controversy surrounding the decision. Still, there were some things that Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2 got right. John's children both had full-circle endings, with Kayce selling the ranch to the Broken Rock tribe and moving back to East Camp with Tate, Brecken Merrill, and Monica, Kelsey Asbill. Beth and Rip also had a noteworthy conclusion, moving onto a ranch west of Dillon, Montana. While Kayce and Beth's closing scenes in Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 14, would have been great epilogues, it's actually the start of something new. Still, the spinoffs will just look like Yellowstone Season 6 collectively. Yellowstone Season 6 could not have achieved Kevin Costner's 7-season Yellowstone plan without him, meaning Season 6 would have likely been about Kayce and Beth's separate lives. Now, their independent shows can replace that. Ahead of the Yellowstone Season 5 finale, a casting deal broke the news that Riley and Hauser would reprise Beth and Rip in a Yellowstone offshoot, presumably in place of Season 6. Season 5 gave us a great idea of what it would be about, with Beth beginning to spin the wheels of her finance degree to figure out how to make ranching profitable. Beth can apply what she's learned to her husband's operation, but a spinoff for the couple would not have replaced Yellowstone Season 6 by itself. However, the news about Kayce's Yellowstone spinoff on CBS confirms screenwriter Taylor Sheridan will cover the complete spectrum of what comes next for John's kids. That would have been the basis for Yellowstone Season 6, so if viewers tune into Beth and Kayce's shows, respectively, then they will get the complete picture of life in Montana after John Dutton IE's death, and the selling of the ranch to Thomas Rainwater, Jill Birmingham after Costner's exit. The Yellowstone story would not have been able to continue with Beth and Kayce holding it down on the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch, unable to pay the massive inheritance tax that caused them to sell it. Therefore, their stories would have been inherently separate in Yellowstone Season 6. Granted, Kayce Dutton could have joined Beth and Rip's offshoot. However, I believed Kayce was gearing up for something more significant than that in Yellowstone Season 5, and something even bigger than running the ranch to pass down to Tate. The CBS show will give Kayce his spotlight, and it will allow Beth and Rip to occupy ample space in their story. Especially after the way he stepped up in the final chapter, a Kayce-centric continuation is warranted. Kayce was outstanding in Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 11, 353, using his position as livestock commissioner to command the medical examiner's office and get the investigation into his father's death reopened as a homicide. The CBS show will give Kayce his spotlight, and it will allow Beth and Rip to occupy ample space in their story, rather than trying to keep up with Beth's brother. Still, the siblings are close enough that they could cross over from time to time. Especially after the divisive reception to Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, it was time to close out the original Yellowstone series and maintain its best remaining pieces in offshoots. While Costner couldn't return to Yellowstone as John Dutton, Riley, Grimes, and Hauser were all ready and willing to keep their Yellowstone characters alive. Rather than try to build the show back up without its soul, John Dutton, it makes sense to pick up the pieces and start anew. Although it was enthralling to see all their stories play out simultaneously, The characters are robust enough to hold their own shows. I'm interested to see what the reception is to Kayce Dutton's CBS Yellowstone show, especially since it will be the first Yellowstone spinoff developed for broadcast TV. I've noticed that Yellowstone fans can be divided on which of John's kids they root for, and I wonder if that will translate to who tunes into which spinoff. Those who watch both Beth and Rip's Yellowstone spinoff and Kayce's offshoot will get a complete sense of how John Dutton's children are coping with his death and their evolving stories, painting the full picture of the presupposed. By all official accounts, Yellowstone Season 6 doesn't exist. The flagship show is wrapping up with the second half of Season 5, Kevin Costner is out, and Taylor Sheridan is juggling more spin-offs than a cowboy at a lasso competition. But for fans who followed the Duttons through every cattle war, political battle, and family betrayal, the Dutton universe isn't just alive, it's multiplying. With Beth and Rip headed for their own chapter and Kayce Dutton rumored to lead a new CBS-based series, it's clear. Season 6 may not wear the name Yellowstone, but it's riding into town anyway. A legacy too big for one brand. Yellowstone didn't just make modern westerns popular again, it became a television empire. And when an empire reaches a certain size, it doesn't collapse. It expands. Paramount may be sunsetting the original series, but they're doing it in name only. The storylines, the characters, and the emotional undercurrents fans crave are already galloping full speed into new terrain. Taylor Sheridan, the mastermind behind the Dutton dynasty, knows better than anyone that a show's title doesn't matter nearly as much as its soul. And the soul of Yellowstone is very much intact, just scattered like wild horses across multiple series. Beth and Rip, a love story that deserves its own range. Beth Dutton and Rip Wheeler are, arguably, the beating heart of Yellowstone. Their gritty, passionate, beautifully broken love story has carried the series through its darkest moments and shined light even when blood was on the barn floor. While John Dutton's political aspirations and land wars provided the muscle, Beth and Rip brought the emotional backbone, and fans wanted more. Now they're getting it. The Beth and Rip spinoff, confirmed in development, promises to dive deep into the couple's journey beyond the ranch. Will they stay tied to Montana, or head off to forge their own legacy somewhere new? Perhaps a plot of land where they can finally live in peace, away from Dutton politics and vendettas. That peace, of course, is unlikely to last long. This is a Sheridan story after all. But giving Beth and Rip center stage is more than fan service, it's narrative justice. They've earned it, and their spin-off may very well serve as the emotional successor to Yellowstone, picking up where Season 5 leaves off and giving fans the closure, or chaos, they crave. Kayce rides again, this time on CBS. While Beth and Rip ride into a potentially lawless future, another Dutton is reportedly headed down a new trail, and this one's paved in primetime gold. Kayce Dutton, the conflicted son, former Navy SEAL, reluctant rancher, and spiritual searcher, is rumored to be leading a new series bound for CBS. Yes, network television. That might sound like a departure from the gritty, prestige cable vibe of Yellowstone, but don't count Kayce out. If Sheridan is involved, and early reports say he is, the storytelling will still pack a punch. And Kayce has always had one foot in the spiritual and the other in the dirt. A show built around him could bring more than just shootouts and cowboy standoffs. It could delve into Native American mysticism, questions of legacy and fatherhood, and the push-pull between tradition and progress. Besides, a network setting might actually allow Kayce's story to reach a broader audience. And with the Yellowstone universe spreading fast, a little mainstream exposure could bring even more eyes to the franchise. A sixth season in disguise. So, is Yellowstone Season 6 happening? Not technically, but creatively, emotionally, spiritually? Absolutely. Think of it as the Marvel Cinematic Universe of Westerns. The main saga may be winding down, but the story doesn't end when the credits roll. It fractures, evolves, and continues across timelines and character arcs. Just like 1923 explored the Duttons' past, and 6666 is expected to take us into the working-class ranching future of Texas. These new spinoffs aren't side notes, they're the next chapters. Fans invested in Beth and Rip's romance, or Kayce's inner turmoil, aren't being abandoned. They're being invited to follow their favorite characters into new frontiers. And while the ranch may change, the themes, family, survival, power, identity, remain steadfast. The Sheridan Method. Expansion without dilution. Taylor Sheridan's approach is calculated. He's not throwing spin-offs at the wall to see what sticks. Each new installment feels like a piece of a larger puzzle. Yellowstone may be ending, but Sheridan is playing a long game, one that doesn't just preserve the Dutton mythology, but enriches it. Beth and Rip's story can deepen our understanding of what it means to love in a brutal world. Kayce's series could explore the cost of loyalty and the road not taken. And by placing these stories in new contexts, whether a different state, a different network, or a different time period, Sheridan ensures the franchise never grows stale.